Well, here it is, a Donkey Kong Mini arcade. Now, I did do a video on how you can get your hands on this, and I'll leave a link in the description for that. But this video is how to improve your mini Donkey Kong arcade by using Retroarch and RetroPie tips to make it even better. Now, in that video, which I will link in the description, that will show you all the steps needed on how to get your hands on one of these Donkey Kong or Nintendo mini arcades, but it starts with the Glenn's Retro Show Build A Cade. Now, you can still get this on sale for a little bit longer. Use code TMG50 to get 50% off that Build A Cade, and then you'll head over to Joe Sabo's arcade website to get the art package that you desire. First thing to note is when I got my Joe Sabo's artwork, the control panel artwork was a little too tall and didn't sit over the buttons correctly, so I just trimmed it. You can use a ruler, razor blade, even scissors. Trim it so it fits perfectly over that control panel. He is aware and has corrected this, but you may get one that's a little tall. Now, the first thing we're going to correct or make better on this build is one of the complaints on the GRS Build A Cade is the viewing angle is a little tough. As you could see here when I launched my Donkey Kong Jr., at the angle I'm sitting at, it's a little bit hard to see the whole board. Well, there's an easy correction for this without having to tilt the game backwards to get a better viewing angle. Now, original Donkey Kongs actually had a large bezel on the top. Right there, you can see that was all black bezel, but Glenn's Build A Cade has a 16:9 screen, and the screen goes all the way to the back of the unit. Now, with my Build A Cade, I already corrected the Donkey Kong game, and you can see when I launch it and play it, I can see the full game with a good viewing angle, or at least this camera viewing angle doesn't really do it justice. Now, when I tip it back, you'll also notice that I put a marquee on the top of Glenn's screen to give it a little flair. I'll show you how to do this as well, but you don't need to do this. We really just need to move the screen down and maybe shrink it a little, and I will show you that, and I will show you in this video how to do it. Now, if we want to get the video out to HDMI, you have to go to Options and down to HDMI Output. Now, I'm outputting to HDMI so I can screen capture this and give you guys a better look, and once I do that, it goes to the carbon theme default. Now, some of the settings you can change to make it better. If you don't want those last played or those other options, you can go to your game collection settings and turn those off through the custom select collections, as well as the other menu options there to turn it off, automatic game collections. Once you turn those off, your options will look a little more clean, or you can leave them on personal preference. Now you'll see I changed that theme set back to the vertical arcade because I like that one. If you're not familiar with how to get new themes, they're in the RetroPie menu and you have to download them. Now, this looks more like what I had on the original screen, so we can keep it consistent. And you can see I only have two options, arcade and options, and you can turn off that options menu by going into UI mode and putting on kiosk. Now, I'm not going to do it here because, as you can see, it wants you to do a special code, the contra code, to get the menu back. The reason for the kiosk mode is to stop people from changing settings and breaking your unit. So you put it in kiosk mode so no kids or anybody can mess with all your settings. Okay, so now let's go into Donkey Kong Jr. One other tip right here, guys. I like to change my main menu look, and to do that, you go Settings, Driver, Menu, get it off of GUI, and I like Ozone setting. After you select the view you'd like, you want to go to Main Menu, Configuration, and Save Current Configuration, or the change won't take place. Now, once we back out and go back in, you'll see the Retroarch menu has changed. Now, really quick on how to do bezels. As I showed you, I have this Donkey Kong bezel at the top, and I have a whole separate video on how to do these. I'll link it in the description, but quickly, you just use Photoshop. I set up a bezel right there. You save a file as a PNG. You also need to do a text file or a CFG file that matches your bezel name. And again, all the details are in the link with a video that I did strictly on doing these bezels. I will also leave a Dropbox link for the 3 files that I did for bezels for the 3 Donkey Kong games. And you can use those as a reference if you want. Just note, I lowered my marquee a little bit more because I'm a little taller and I wanted to bring the game down a little bit. Now, once you have those PNG and text files, you're going to want to move those files into opt RetroPie configs all Retroarch overlays. Then you'll have access to them in the Retroarch menu. Okay, now we'll add that bezel and then we'll adjust the screen down to make it fit right. And to do that, you're going to go to Quick Menu, On-Screen Overlay, Overlay Preset, and then you'll select the overlay that you desire. Now, after we make all these changes, we're definitely going to want to do a configurations game save override, and I'll get to that in just a second. But as you notice on this, when I put that bezel on, you can see that the game is too high and it's overlapping or underneath the bezel, and we can't see the whole game. So we're going to move the game down by going into Retroarch, and forgive me, I have to spin the video a little bit so we can see it correctly. And we're going to go to Settings, Video, then Scaling, and then we're going to make sure our aspect ratio is set to Custom. Once we do that, it's going to open up some more options, and we're going to be able to move our game image around on the screen. As you can see here, the screen is moving down as I adjust the horizontal position of the game. You can see it in the background going down to the bottom of the screen. Now, this is going to take some back and forth to see if it's fitting correctly. You can also mess with the horizontal size, which will shrink it a little just if you want to have a smaller image and get a better viewing angle. As we go back, we can check the game and see how it looks. And okay, it's not quite low enough and I still have some room to work with, so I'm going to do it again and I'm going to make it a little bit lower. But make sure you don't leave yet, because there's one important step after we get this right. So we quickly do some adjustments and bingo, there it is. The whole screen's down and it's looking really good. Now we have to save those settings or it will revert to the old ones. So to do that, we're going to go back into our Retroarch menu. We're going to go to Quick Menu and then Overrides and then Save Game Override. Make sure you do Save Game Override, not Save Core Override. You don't want to mess that up. Once we're done with that, those settings will stick for the next time. Let's take a look at it now, and bingo, there it is. You can see the whole game in the picture, and if we tilt it back a little bit, you're going to see the bezel right there for Donkey Kong Jr., and the camera really doesn't do the angle justice, but I can play very well on it like this, and I can see the whole screen. And even if you have a regular GRS Build A Cade without the Nintendo package, then you can do this as well, because I know even on the regular one, there's still some viewing angle problems, but this fixes that. Hey, leave a thumbs up, and thanks for watching The Rexer Show.